Welcome to Career Bits, the podcast of the University Career Center at UNC Charlotte. I'm Jay, and our topic this week is assessments and the role that they play in your career and professional development. Got a couple of recorded interviews, one with Dr. Suzanne Voigt, Associate Director in the University Career Center, who will talk to you about the Pathway U assessment, and then one with Nick Davies, a professional career coach, who talks about the role assessments can play in your professional development and throughout your career. So let's get things started. Welcome into Career Bits now, Dr. Suzanne Voight, the Associate Director in the University Career Center. Suzanne, welcome back to Career Bits, and glad to have you on to talk a little bit about assessments today.
Yes, thank you so much.
So students come to us for a lot of different things, and one of the biggest ones is the overriding question of what am I supposed to do, and how can I figure that out? And I mean, you can take 100 different Facebook quizzes that'll give you all kinds of different advice on it. And we even have a variety of assessments in the office that we've used, but there's one in particular we've kind of zeroed in on called Pathway U that we tend to use to help students sort through those things. So I wonder if you could tell us just a little bit about why Pathway U is the one that we chose, and then a bit about how we use it.
Absolutely. So Pathway U is actually quite a unique assessment. Over the past, 50, 60 years of career assessments, a lot of assessments have come out sort of with individual focuses. So for instance, for a long time, there was an assessment, and there still is, about, just assessing your interests or just your personality or your values or skills or all these other individual components of career exploration. But the reason we went with Pathway U is because it has this amazing ability to overlap and find that sweet spot sort of between four different assessments. So Pathway U is looking at interests, it's looking at your personality, your workplace preferences, which this is one of the very first assessments I have ever seen to actually focus on that, and also values, which are so extremely important to your overall satisfaction and fulfillment in your work. So in looking at all four of these components, we're trying to find that sweet spot in the middle of all four. And so once you are able to navigate that, you're able to see both strong matches career-wise, majors that correspond with these four areas. So it's a much stronger assessment by looking at all four versus just one individual assessment. So one of the ways that students can get plugged into this assessment is by going directly to our website and learning a little bit more about it. They can log into our assessment at career.uncc.edu/assessments. They can read a little bit more about Pathway U, some of the research behind it. All four of these areas are researched. These are based on theory, counseling development theory, and it's been researched for many years now. So it's definitely a valid assessment. Students can watch a short introductory video on Pathway U to help walk them through how to log into the system, how to then take the assessment, and then also how to navigate their results. And then also students will see that there are downloadable worksheets that they can download and actually be able to work through their assessment, really giving them time to reflect upon what they just learned about themselves.
So it is very self-guided.
It is a self-guided assessment, which is different than previous assessments where students had to come in and get it interpreted by a career counselor. And so these are self-guided. They never have to see anyone, but we are here for them as career coaches if they do want to meet with us one-on-one about their results, because we can actually pull up their results and be able to help them navigate the system and some of their matches.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about that, what that looks like in a counseling session with a student. I've taken my assessments, I've read through it, I even did a couple of the worksheets. I think I kind of get it, but I want someone else to help validate it. I think that's something students really seek a lot of times. So what is it like in a counseling session with one of our career coaches to walk through the Pathway U assessment?
Sure. So one of the things I see a lot are that students, while they may have quickly glanced at their results, they may not have gone sort of deep diving into their actual profile. And so a career coach really helps you go section by section to understand what the different sections actually mean, as well as some of the different themes that are surfacing. Because part of it is when you're just looking at it from a very shallow perspective, it can seem sometimes like your results are not actually authentic to who you are as an individual. But once you actually start going deeper, you start realizing how those do actually come into play with your interests and with some of the values maybe that you didn't even know you had until you took this assessment. And so a career coach is able to help you validate some of those different areas, help explain some of the different concepts and terms that Pathway uses to describe, your personality and your interests. and is able to help you start identifying some overlapping themes among all four of these assessments. So those themes are then tied to, what majors are at UNC Charlotte that could correspond to those themes? What are some, career paths that you might want to consider that also correspond, and how can they complement each other? And so a career coach is really helping with that much more deeper exploration after the student has already done the worksheets and read through their profiles.
You mentioned before that one of the unique parts of the assessment that you really liked was the workplace preferences piece of it. I wonder if you could talk a little bit more about that and how that accounts for the ever-changing, workplace that is the modern workforce.
Yeah, so both workplace preferences and values have been researched throughout the years, but there's never really been amazing career assessments to go along with those. It's really been based on experience and reflection. So, for instance, a student potentially who is more introverted, who goes into a workspace and is working all of a sudden in a cubicle space and is working around, let's say, 50 other people in a cubicle space, they all of a sudden realize the value that they wish they had their own space. They wish they had more quiet or just a door to close so that they could really focus on their work. It also could be, for instance, they go into a work environment where they really value stability and they want, a continual paycheck and something that's not based on commission. And so, some students thrive off commission, whereas other people want just that solid paycheck. So workplace preferences and values sort of go hand in hand because both of them contribute to the overall enjoyment and fulfillment of your work. And usually students don't find out really what those workplace preferences and values are until they're actually in their first internship or a job shadowing opportunity where they're able to see how some of those environments either conflict or complement who they are as an individual.
So Suzanne, once again, how can students access Pathway U, and then what's the best route to completing it and then making an appointment afterward if they want to?
Sure. Again, if they go to career.uncc.edu/assessments, again, they can read all about Pathway U, download those worksheets, watch the video, which is a step-by-step and how to take the entire assessment, how to process the information. And then if they want that further deeper exploration with a career coach, all they need to do is go to Hire a Niner. And under the under the appointment selection, they just need to choose, I want to talk about Pathway U with a career coach, and that will open it up for all of our calendars to be able to meet with that student. These appointments are 1 hour. And again, we will be able to pull up your assessment so you don't have to print anything off. But we'll be able to pull it up. And if it's a virtual appointment, we'll be able to share the screen with you so we can both walk through your results at any given time. And in general, when you're thinking about taking any assessment like Pathway U, you want to make sure that you are in a good headspace. You want to make sure that you're not rushing it. You're not trying to just get it done at the last minute, that you haven't been really sad that day. Don't take Pathway U right after a breakup because that definitely might skew your results a bit. So really make sure that you have a good space and a good time to take this assessment. Another thing I like about Pathway U, unlike other assessments, is that you can actually take each of these 4 assessments individually. So you don't have to sit down and complete all 4 at once. You can sit down and complete 1 or 2 at a time and then come back. And then you can also retake the assessments. If you were having a bad day or just you don't think that the results really reflect you personally as an individual, you can always retake that particular section of the assessment and see what new results that you have. But in general, just, think about Pathway U as being a good mirror. It's not going to tell you exactly what to do in life, but it is a nice reflection on who you are and some of the things you might want to think about as far as educational paths and career paths that you might want to take.
Yeah, I think that's an important thing to end on, is that the assessment is not going to solve that puzzle for yourself. What it's going to do is take information that and can reveal about yourself and then organize it for you in a way that helps you make more informed choices. That's really what the assessments are designed to do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So hopefully this is going to be a really good tool for students. It's available for all incoming freshmen as well as alumni. Even if alumni want to take it, we'll be glad to help them get set up with this. So if you feel free to reach out if you have questions about this, and I'll be glad to help you one-on-one. And again, you can log into the assessment anytime by just going to our main website and looking at the assessments tab.
Fantastic. Thanks so much for being on Career Bits again, Suzanne.
Thank you, Jay.
Happy to welcome to Career Bits Nick Davies, a professional business and career coach with Pro Advisor Coach. But Nick has worked in the Tony Robbins organization and previously with Deutsche Bank and lots of other things. So, Nick, thanks so much for coming and being a part of Career Bits.
What a pleasure. Thanks very much, Jay.
I got to ask you something just right off the bat. On your LinkedIn profile, you have a statement or a question that says, do you know if you're winning in business or your life in 10 seconds or less? And I got to ask what that's all about.
Yeah, it's exciting, isn't it? Right. This is about really one of the part of the core offerings that we have at Pro Advisor Coach, and it's like most of the time in our life or in business or in our career, like we haven't got the clarity we need. We just don't know what's going on, and sometimes we have a feeling about what that is, but not really the clarity. And so it's about really speed, getting there as quickly as possible. Because if you can go into a place where you can physically see where you are in your life, based on parameters that you set for it in each area of your life, each area of your business, you can see it instantly. Within 10 seconds or less, you know where you are. Hey, look, I'm at 75% in my health right now. I'm at 99% in my business right now, and then different parameters as well. And so just that clarity is what we do and set up as part of our process, which is just you can't help but grow exponentially when you get that type of feedback loop.
Absolutely, and that's what Suzanne and I talked about with what pathway you could do for our students in terms of helping them find that direction and really hone in on what their competencies need to be and how to develop those as they're choosing their major and going forward in their college career. But beyond that, and I'm fascinated by this, having been in the career services space for a number of years now, the idea of career coaching and career assessments after graduation and as a professional. So let's start with there. How did you get involved in doing professional career and business coaching?
It's something that fascinates me. Like when I went growing up in England, going to school, and then started working at a young age, I just kind of jumped into it. I threw myself into something that was interesting-ish to me, and then I found something that was interesting as part of it. And I never really asked myself, what do I want to be when I grow up? Right. And I think that's a continual question. I often ask that to people that I work with, and as something which breaks people's patterns, but it's a very relevant question all the time. We should be always asking that, I believe. And so for me to start to ask that question to myself and then go down the road of exploring what that looks like, I don't think it ever finishes. Like we're only where we are based on what we've got going on right at that point on that part of our journey. I think there's always more. So I think it's a continual question that we should ask ourselves. And therefore to understand what we want next or what we want overall, we got to look at assessments. We've got to look at really digging down, and I refer to it as awareness. Like awareness is a big part, and so it's easy to go to the how. Like, what do I need to do? How do I need to get there? But first of all, we need to understand, like, underneath the person, like, what do you really want? Like, what's it all about for you? What really drives you? And I think assessments can be a really important way of doing that. I think it's something that never stops. I really, truly believe that's what it's all about. And I love anything to do with personal development. That's why I do this now. But I think it's, especially as adults, we don't have an inbuilt version of that to keep us moving. It's kind of like, I liken it to health as well. Like when we're growing up, there's all these things that we get involved with sports, and our parents take us to be active as children growing up as well. And then when you're an adult, there's not necessarily an automatic path to that. And I think it's the same for personal development. And we've got to be very intentional, and I think that starts with awareness. And we've got to constantly be asking those deep questions, because the default is the erosion of the quality of our life. So we've got to always be pushing it and making sure that what we're doing is what we want to be doing, and we're making intentional decisions.
Yeah, and a number of companies spend a lot of time and effort investing in their employees and things, but a good number of employees can get involved in those actions, and they do really good. But there's another group of folks who seek outside advice and outside help as part of that. What's the value and the difference in that versus what the company may be doing for your own professional development?
I lived in the Philippines for 2 years, and I worked for big banks for a long time, as you referenced. And one of the things I loved, we always take a lot of courses in personal development. And living in the Philippines, it was a new location for that part of the business, and so there was even more courses in development. So trainers would come in and facilitate a 2-day course, 1-day course here and there, and I loved that, but there was no continuity. And so you can have a lift and have that 2-day course and come away feeling good and going, that makes sense to me. and then you just go back to your day to day. There's no continuity, there's no connectivity, there's nothing that continues moving forward. So I think either companies often have the foresight to bring in coaching organizations to do that and provide that, and it never stops. It's not a one size fits all, wang, we've put it on and you're done. It's constantly moving forward. So if that's not available inside the organization you work with, absolutely, I think that's why people look outside that to have that as part of their ongoing personal development. Because look, even if it's not something that you think that your company should support based on your business and creating more value where you are, you take yourself wherever you go. And so even if it's relationships, even if it's just something else that you're interested in, then it's something that we should always think about, because like we're humans, we're individuals, and we need to be supported everywhere. So I think it's crucial. Really.
Yeah, and so much emphasis is put on young professionals who are entering in the workforce and making sure they're making the right investments, right? Investing in their healthcare, investing in their retirements, and that's all very important. I agree with all that. But there doesn't seem to be as much of a push in investing in your own personal and professional development. And I wanted to ask you, why do you think that disconnect happens? And then what have you noticed in coaching young professionals through the years, ones that have really tapped into something and are continually investing in themselves as well?
Yeah, why does that happen? Like, why is that the case? I don't know. I don't know why we're not there yet. I think it's a move, a continual growth for our society as a whole. I think there are a lot of people that are, but generally speaking, I would agree with you. But it comes down to that we are our most important asset. That's it. If you invest in yourself, you can't lose. You just can't, right? It's like if you constantly putting in more learning capabilities to yourself, even if it's not something that you directly want, it's a journey to go on. The more you put in, the more that you'll get out, and the more that you can create for yourself, the more you become, and the more you can give back. And so that's the continuous improvement process that I see in individuals that I work with that are at a young age, right? It's like I often find that there's a switch that people go through in their life, and there's a lot more depth to it, of course. But if I make it really simple, it's either, okay, the switch is set to what can I get away with? Like, how can I do the minimum? How can I make it through? How can I just do enough so I can get something out of this? Once people make the switch to what can I contribute? How can I create? What more can I give here? That the fulfillment of life is completely changed, and those people know that they continually have to put in order to create more, be more, become more, and give back. Because ultimately, the fulfillment in life comes from growth, I believe. And when we grow, we can then contribute back, so we can give more to others.
Yeah,
so whatever we're doing should support that.
Yeah, Nick, you make a great point. Yourself or your own development is the one stock you completely control the direction of. You can't control the market. You can't control the price of this, that, and the other. In a lot of ways, you can't really control the direction that your company or job is going in, because there's so many other factors that are completely outside of your area of focus. But in how you do things, or how we do things individually, we have total control over. And I think you bring up another great point, which I'm really glad you said, is the more you invest in yourself doesn't make you a selfish person. It actually makes you more of a giving person, right?
Yeah, how cool is that? It's like, here's your biggest asset, and you're in charge of it, and you and you're able to create and give back more to others because of it as well. Yeah, that's something that I see a lot, actually. We dig under the waterline of just the tactics of going about this. Is that a lot of people have high empathy, and that's a wonderful thing. And people don't want to break that high empathy with others through connection with others, because if they seem to be doing stuff that's selfish. But ultimately, it's about leadership. It's about longevity. It's about thinking long term. And if you're investing in yourself, even if it costs in the moment in a relationship, ultimately you're going to be able to bring more to that relationship, because you're doing the thing that's necessary. Like, most people aren't doing this, right? And so the opportunity is to step up and hold yourself to a higher standard. And by doing that, you allow people to follow you as well, right? If you've got the standard that's excellent, most people that successful people think that excellence is the standard to be going for. And I would suggest that there's one higher than that, right? It's outstanding, and it's the ability to stand out, and that all the spoils are available when you have a standard of outstanding, is because you're paving the way. Like, you enable other people to follow you as well. And so holding yourself to that place is super important. That will allow you to exponentially grow. Because look, when it comes down to it, Jay, anything's possible. Think about the human potential that's available to us. Like, think about the things that we've managed to achieve in the last 10, 20, 40, 50, 100 years. It's incredible. Human potential is pretty much limitless. And so we want to make sure that we just setting ourselves to the standards to just do the things every day to get there. And it actually is simple. We just have to be clear about what we want and go towards it. And here's the thing. Here's the kicker. Even if you're not clear about what you want, it's important to get clear about what you want. Now, what do I mean about that? It's more important to decide something than it is what the decision actually is. And that's the thing that blew my mind when I figured that out. Because once you do that, you push yourself to a place where you can achieve more, prove that to yourself, and then things open up and opportunities open up. And so something that I struggled with before I started that question about what do I want to be when I grow up is like, I don't know. Like, I'm not even answering the question. So that, of course I don't know. So the realization is that even if you don't know, it doesn't matter. What matters is if you just decide to get committed about something and go for it, because then you start to become more and create more, and then more opens up, and then you start to really see what your potential is.
That is such excellent advice too, because I do think any of us can get caught up in the hand wringing of, I don't know what to do next, or am I on track? Am I doing what so and so's doing, whatever? And the truth of the matter is you just need to decide, here's what I want to do right now, and invest in it, work toward it. And then once you go down that road a bit, you'll very quickly see, is this what I want to spend time on or not? And then you can change. And I think that's the one thing that if I could coach and teach people, and particularly young professionals, is do not be afraid to change your mind the same way you would when you were in college. People change their majors, all the time. There's all kinds of statistics about that, and no one gets really upset about it. I've worked in this business long enough where that used to be like this huge thing, and now people are like, yeah, I know I'm going to. It's okay. I'll figure it out. And I love that. I love the flexibility of it. But something happens once you drop that graduation gown, and it's like, I can't change anything anymore. Actually, yes, you can. That's the time you could probably change the most as a professional.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, just go for it. Like, whatever it is, just go full out. Because when you're confident or you're certain in the potential that you have, and everyone has this. I'm a firm believer that everyone has massive potential, and it's different for everyone, but we still have massive potential. And so when you can stand on that point and be certain about it, the type of action or push that you go to in that your chosen area at that time, to your point, it's going to be bigger. And you're going to get bigger results because you're taking bigger action. And when you do that, you get bigger feedback, bigger results, bigger feedback, and it gives you more impetus to continue to move forward, right? So if it's not something that you actually want, you'll find out quicker. Awesome.
Yeah, exactly.
Something you do want, you'll find out quicker and get even more power and momentum. Yeah, so that's the important part of it. Just go for it.
Yeah, I think that's the one thing that I've always appreciated about assessments, particularly on the college career development side, is that there's a very empowering piece to those. And so that's what I wanted to ask you next, is talk about some of the tools that you use working with professionals to help empower them to make those next step decisions.
Yeah, it's so easy to go straight into action plans, especially people that already are in a career, already have a business, for instance, that are established, as it were. Because it's like, hey, well, here's where I want to go to. Let's just do it. And the plan's important, but it's not about the plan. It's about taking it one step back from that, like going back and digging the foundation. So that's why I think assessments are important, or any tools to create awareness. We have something which is a proprietary tool, which we call the mind scan. It's about thinking. It's understanding where our thought processes are. Right? If we've got 3 primary ways we think, just like there's 3 primary colors, it enables us to see where our thoughts are at any given time, and that gives us different perspective, and it takes away any loaded emotional attachment we have to that in the moment as well, and just allows us to get clarity on where we are, right? Because clarity equals power.
Absolutely, clarity equals power. Nick, tell folks how they can find out more about Pro Advisor Coach and connect with you.
Yeah, you can reach out to me directly, Nick at proadvisorcoach.com. I'd love to connect with you. Connect with me on LinkedIn as well. That's where I spend most of my time, and throw some videos up there and stuff. And you can also visit the proadvisorcoach.com website. I'd love to connect with anyone who wants to talk about anything with career. Come and do a mind scan. I'd love to offer that complimentary to anyone who's interested in do it as well. It's just a great way to take a step back and get some more depth into what we're thinking about. And look, I invite everyone to start to think about their lives on a deeper level, right? It's so easy for us, and me included, for us to play on the surface, and so if we're not intentional about where we're going, we're gonna go back to that baseline of just kind of playing on the surface. And nothing wrong with that, but there's more available. So let's go and get it.
Absolutely. Nick, thanks again for being a part of Career Bits.
My pleasure.
So there you have it. Some great information from Dr. Suzanne Voight in the University Career Center about Pathway U, and from Nick Davies from Pro Advisor Coach. Hope you found it informational. Follow the happenings of the Career Center at career.uncc.edu or on hireniner.uncc.edu, and on social media at Niner Careers. The fall career and internship fairs are coming up October the 8th and 9th, so make sure you are prepared by checking out all of the information on our website. Talk to you again soon.